And this time, tonight's story takes us all the way up to Northumbria. Well, not as far as Northumbria, Durham to be exact. And this is the story of the Lambton Worm. The story starts in the middle of the Middle Ages. A young knight is down at the river having a bathe, and steps out from the river, and he finds a small worm on the side of the river. Thinks nothing of it, picks it up, and it looks a bit strange. So he decides to take it home with him. So he's going back up to the castle. This is outside a small village called Penshaw. So he's taking the small worm back to the castle, and he gets sick of carrying it, to be quite honest. So he throws it down a local well. Thinks nothing of it, goes back to the castle and carries on with his life. Now the young knight has been taught all the knightly things, how to fight with swords and things like this. So it's his turn to go on holy crusade. So he goes all the way to the Holy Land for 7 years. And then he returns from the Holy Land and he finds a mysterious occurrence has happened. The small worm that he'd thrown down the well has grown. It has grown to humongous size. In fact, it's so big it can actually wrap itself around a small hill. So, twice. Now, it's killing man and beast, this giant worm. So he has to find a way of killing it. Now, in those days, you couldn't find a book on mythological creatures. It didn't exist. But what you could do is you can go and ask the local witch. Now, the witches in those days were both good and bad. You can have white and you can have black witches. So, good and bad are everywhere. So he went and asked the local good witch for advice on how to kill the Lambton Worm. And she told him the best idea would be to actually put razor-sharp blades all over his suit of armour and fight the worm in the river. The reason for this is when the worm used to attack, people had tried to kill it before. Every time they hacked a piece, it joined itself back together and healed. So he asked why should he do it in the river? And she said, and the reason from the witch was that every time he chopped a piece off, it would be taken away with the river, so it couldn't re-heal itself. So the knight did this. He ordered the armourers to actually make hundreds of blades all over his suit of armour, so anything that latched onto him would be cut to pieces. And then he arranged with his father that he told his father what the witch had told him, but he also told his father one thing, that to give the information over about how to kill this animal, there was one, we'll call it part of a deal. Once the worm was dead, the knight had to kill the first living thing that came to him after he killed the worm. So the father said, "Don't worry, I'll sort that out." So in went the knight into the middle of the river and summoned the great worm. And the great worm came down from the hillside and had a fight with the knight in the river. And sure enough, as the worm wrapped around him, all the blades cut into the flesh of the worm and little bits were chopped off. And they floated away down the river, not to be re-healed again. And this carried on for hours. And eventually, there was nothing left of the worm. The knight had managed to kill the worm completely. So he gave this aforesaid signal of blowing on his horn to actually summon the alive of dog. Unfortunately, his father, in his excitement, forgot to do his part of the job and forgot to release the hound. Instead, he ran to his son himself to put his arms around him to congratulate him on the victory. At this point, the knight realised he had only one choice. He had to kill his father. If he did not kill his father, then he would have broken the deal with the witch, and all sorts of untimely and bad things will happen to his family. The knight could not kill his father, and to this day, through that generation, that family, unfortunate happenings have happened to them, and they've passed away early. Accidents, all sorts have happened because the knight chose not to kill his father on that day. However, local tradition says that the hill's still there, and you can see where the worm wrapped around the hill twice. So it was a large worm. Some people may say it being a snake those days. It does seem consistent with a lot of snake stories. We don't know. But all the names are there, all the places are there. If you go up to that part of the country, you can go up and ask about the locals, where the hill is and everything, and they'll show you where it was, and where the snake is, and where the river is. So another story. Was it true or false? I'll leave you with that. If you'd like to hear more of these strange stories from the UK, press the subscribe, and we'll catch you all another night. Ta-ta.